Let me have you come in. I mean, has the president checked out? Is it possible we call a state of emergency now?
What does that mean? I mean, I think that we have to be careful.
We have to be careful with what?
I mean, because these things are quite interesting when it's coming from Suheni. We also have to be very clear in our minds that the president is still working. In the last few days, you've seen him all over the place, still prosecuting his mandate. Now, I come from a place called Abompe, near Osino, which is in the Fantiaka South District. Now, we have a river called Brim. So when I was a child, you have this conversation where, I'll say it in Tree, Achemkwa, Onum Brim. I think you understand. And so, any conversation surrounding Galamsey and illegal mining are things that I have a certain appreciation of and I'm passionate about. And so every time I get an opportunity to speak about these things, I say it in a very dispassionate, apolitical way. So it's very clear that illegal mining is a challenge. It has been a challenge, not in the last few years. It's been a challenge in times past. And there are several attempts that have been made to try and forestall the issues. Some policy propositions have been made in regard to having even community mining schemes and even having alternative livelihood schemes to support these young people who indulge in this illegal mining. It's very clear that some gains have been made. It's also clear that we're still having challenges with these things. From my perspective, it's always important to look at it from how do we find a lasting solution to this challenge, because it looks like it's not going away anytime soon. And anytime we talk about consensus and making sure that you have collaboration from various stakeholders, people balk at the idea. But it's very important to also look at it from that perspective as well. For example, you know an excavator, and see how big an excavator is. There's absolutely no way that an excavator will enter. I'll use my village as an example. Abompe, go through the town and enter the forest without the people within that particular community being aware of that. You understand? So you find out that there are collaborators with people who are chiefs, opinion leaders, people who own the land. I mean, we've spoken about land tenure issues here and all sorts of other things where people even sell their farmlands to some of these people to engage in these illegal activities. And so for me, whilst it's important that because we have issues with how the degradation of the environment is happening and how it's affecting our water bodies, it was also important that we look at it from a very big picture perspective to say that yes, government has a responsibility. Government has tried all manner of ways to try and forestall this challenge. Some cases, some has been successful, in other cases it hasn't been. But I believe strongly that as a collective, we are dropping the ball. And why do I say that? Because, I mean, you can have all the muscle or all the security apparatus and all the state apparatus that you want to be able to stem this tide. And yet, if you don't have the support of the people themselves, you do not have an ironclad alternative livelihood system in place. And even the regulators, and so making sure that the various, there is Minerals Commission, the the guys at the Environmental Protection, all of these entities, Forestry Commission, all have the resources and the manpower, in place to solve these challenges. You'll be backing up the wrong tree. So for me, in as much as I'm very particularly worried about this, I think that we probably have to go back to the drawing board in terms of how we deal with this challenge. And several propositions have been made.
You mean we have to reset?
Yeah. What does reset mean? We have to go back to the drawing board in terms of how we do this. For example, Dr. Baumia, who is a flag bearer, is proposing having something akin to minerals or like a mining bank. And then also having conversation around creating avenues for the local people to own these concessions and give them the support to be able to mine so that it's regulated properly. The issues to do with reclamation of the land and areas where you can mine and areas where you cannot mine becomes a thing of the past. And so for me, I think that this is the right direction. And then at a local level, making sure that young people who are minded by even going into that particular space are regulated properly. So that, I mean, because you cannot stop. It's not the case that we want to stop people from mining. It is the issue of how it affects our forest reserves and how it affects our water bodies. But if we're able to find a way where we can avoid these two major areas and we have a proper regulation in place to support people to go into artisanal mining or small-scale mining, that's not a problem. Now, you see, the inconsistencies when it comes to the NDC is what also worries me. You have a flag bearer who has been president before, going around the country, going to places where these Galamsey, he actually uses the word Galamsey, and that in the unlikely event that he becomes president again, he's going to give an amnesty to people who have been prosecuted because of Galamsey.
What did he say after that?
Let me finish. And so if somebody of that stature goes about.
No,
can I? But you can't.
What did he say?
I don't know what he said. I'm telling you what I heard.
This is disinformation.
How is it disinformation?
What did he say after that?
How is that disinformation?
I have that video, but because of time, it's so long,
I think you're being unfair to me. Let me make my point.
What did he say after that?
When I'm done, you can ask me questions. Then you have a former communications officer. Let me make my point. Let me make my point.
That's all he's asking for. It's not like he doesn't know the facts.
Let me make my point.
But he's pleading with you to allow him to do his propaganda.
I don't do propaganda. You know me very well.
So respond to the question. What did he say? If you know what he said. Right. If you don't know, then ask her to tell you.
Communication officer
if you are interested in
of the NDC.
Do you know any minister that's involved in Galamsey?
How would I know? I don't know.
Do you know any MP?
Can I finish?
I'm asking.
No, but you're asking me. You're now.
I just want to know. Do you?
No,
yes
you're
or no?
disrupting my train of thought.
Oh,
and that is unfair. I don't like that.
Continue.
Let me make my point. Then you can ask me questions.
Continue.
Right. Then you have a former communications officer of the NDC, plus a few NDC officials actually. In 2020, as part of their campaign activities, going to places that were supposed to be Galamsey sites, actually encouraging these people and telling them that they will not actually hound them when they came into power because they were basically looking for their livelihoods. Right. So, as statesmen, as politicians, as political elite, we have to be very careful with the kind of messaging that we send around. So you realize that our friends have thrown principles.
So they have to be
I'm just saying that. So when I have this, when you ask me questions and you express disquiet and you're disgruntled about what is happening, I will not have any qualms with you. What is coming from Suhini? I don't trust it.
So I'm asking questions.
You understand what I'm saying? I will not trust it because it is very clear that they don't even have a position on that.
That's fine.
Right? And so all I'm saying is that, like I said, I come from a place. I'm an Achim. I come from Abompe. We drink the brim. When we were kids, you'd see things. So I am directly affected by activities of Galamsey. And I cannot sit on politics or not. I cannot sit on a national platform like this and countenance any activity.
So let me ask you, have you tried? So you've tried all means.
No, but that's what I'm saying.
And it didn't work.
I have my views. I have my views, right?
And your views are?
Very, very clear. You see, what are they using to do the destruction of the thing? Majority of these people are using excavators and all of those things, right? And my view is that it's very easy to actually adopt technology to be able to deal with these things. Where are the excavators coming from? The excavators are coming through our ports. The excavators are coming through our ports. And you need to be able to have a system. This is 2024, right? And so you need to be able to have a system that would be able to track every single excavator and any earth-moving machinery that comes into this country. That's what I will do, right? Give it an opportunity so that if it's supposed to, let's say, for example, you have commercial mining entities that are legally operating. You have other construction companies and all that using all this machinery for specific purposes, right? And legal purposes. And so you need to have an indication of where this is going, who is using what, and all of those things. If it happens that this is it's operating in an environment that is not designated, it's not pre-designated, you shut it down.
But you
you
have a minister.
But that is,
and I always make reference to this. The Western Regional Minister, when he made the point that the task forces have been withdrawn from the Galamsey sites, he also added that if you identify a place you want to mine, all you need to do is to send your information to the MCE, and they will allocate the place for you. You start mining. Is that what is that?
I didn't hear that. I don't know what you said. But that's what I'm saying. But all I'm saying is that we have to look at it from a perspective where certain things have been put in place to forestall the challenge. It hasn't worked. In some places, it has. I mean, there are people. So, for example, I'll give you an example. There's a town next to my town, very close. It's called Achim, where the chief there has vowed that under his watch, there is not going to be Galamsey in that place. And guess what? There's nothing like that happening there. However, there are adjoining and, nearby towns that this thing happens. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm saying that you can use so many ways of actually dealing with this. For example, I think that the Otumfuo himself has to be commended for being able.
He's not done with his work.
Let me finish.
He should hand over the chiefs to the police.
That is your view.
It's not my view. Yeah. It's not my view. What the chiefs were engaged in was an illegality. Yeah. And that is why the Otumfuo realized that I need to remove you from your position first. How you conclude with this work before I applaud is you hand them over to the police.
But it is not, we are living in a constitutional environment. This is not in his remit to hand over people to the police. Now that he has made that, you see, we have to be very consistent with our approach here. Now that he has made that determination, which is under his remit, it is basically his responsibility to which he has done.
If you recognize that someone is engaged in an illegality, what do you do?
But that is what I'm saying, that it is not in his place to hand over people to the police. Now that the police have knowledge of these things, they can go ahead. Nothing stops the police from doing the investigation.
The police won't just get up. The police doesn't just get up to go and arrest people.
Oh no, but it doesn't have to necessarily start with an arrest.
The chief has realized that my sub chiefs are offending the law. They're breaking the rules. So I'm removing them as chiefs.
And they have been removed.
Hand over them to the police.
But how do you do that? You can't
report them to the police.
Maybe that's your view. But I'm saying that, as far as I'm concerned, unless I can be educated on that, as far as I'm concerned, nothing stops whoever is responsible, the authorities who have the mandate, right, to go ahead and do their investigations and bring those people to book.
I want to raise this before we quickly, just 2 minutes, I beg you. I just want to raise an issue that's on my heart.
Yes, I don't know when Eric was talking about the Birim River. I don't know when last he.
I go there all the time. That's where I come from.
Have you seen it?
But that's what I'm saying, that I'm.
No, in his submission, he sought to see. He didn't say, but he sought to see that the chief within the Birim River area is not working. Because the town closed. The town closed.
He's giving an example of a town where a chief is working.
The town is called what? Achim Hemai, they are not involved in Galamsey.
Because the chiefs around the Birim area.
No, I didn't say that.
Because the water of the Birim, the color of the Birim River.
I said that you need a certain consensus and collaboration to be able to fight.
But it starts with leadership.
So you see, Annie, I can understand why he appreciates the intervention of the Asante. And yes, I also agree with him that it is commendable. What he has done is commendable. But I equally agree with you that the icing on the cake would have been to submit them to the police for investigation. But if he hasn't done that, nothing actually stops the police from also taking it up to do an investigation, a follow-up investigation, and to get the chiefs to answer.